coming to you live from the Pensado Theater at the all-new SAE Los Angeles campus. Pensado's Place is brought to you by Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Aftermaster, Isotope, Studio 202 DC, Avid, and The Recording Connection.
A legendary rock name and his trusty axe. Hear that? Woo, guitar guys, you're gonna enjoy this week. We got a deep dive into the global live business from the best in the game. Brand new ITLs, news you can use. Let's get it poppin'. You're at the place. It's Pensado's Place.
Yay. Ooh, man.
How about that for an intro?
You know what?
Show's over.
I miss my guitar.
We'll let you play his.
I know, but it's not like mine. I mean, we'll go over that with Dweezil in a little bit. I mean, guitars and amps are personal things, but that was fun for me.
That's right.
Let's do it over. I think you made a mistake. I think when you do it over.
Well, the audience doesn't know what the hell we're talking about because you're so enamored.
Oh, hey guys, welcome. It's gonna be a fun show. We got a lot of incredible information for you today. A lot of things that you're going to learn, and I'm going to learn more than anybody today. What's up?
We both are. I'm good. How are you? Good week?
Good week, yeah.
Shall we get to it?
Let's do it.
Chock-a-block full, yeah? Hey gang, great to be with you as always. Really hope you're having a great week. Shout out to Corey Morgan for his very nice email to us. Glad we could help you through that particular crisis. Likes and subscribes are absolutely amazing. We're about headed toward $150. It's right on the horizon. A real testament to your belief and work. Dave and I thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
We also thank our superb partners who keep this train a-rolling. We appreciate your support for them. That's vitally important. They are, of course, Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Aftermaster, Isotope, Avid, Recording Connection in Studio 202 DC. Vintage King getting ready for a cool series of live events. We'll get that info to you. The Blackbird Academy intake for July still available. International students, this means you as well. Do not sleep. This is high-end learning, hands-on training, and incredible placement rates. Contact our girl Karma for details. That's Karma at theblackbirdacademy.com. Tell her Dave and Herb referred you, and they'll see you there. In the corner office, should we meet our host? He goes by the name of
John I got to embrace it.
You have to just hold on to it and love it. Absolutely. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. We got some really great questions for some really great guests.
Yeah, we're having like double guest up and stuff. We're covering lots of turf today. So
I'm still on Chango.
Well, you're still on the guitar part, but Dweezil was doing it earlier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're just having an audio orgasmic experience, which would be the point of this show.
I hope the audience can tell, but nobody has more fun than you and I, my friend. You know,
we do.
It's we take it very seriously, particularly you take it very seriously. Make sure it's a great TV show, but
it's a lot of work, and then we come here, we can have fun. Yeah. So we're gonna have a lot of fun this week. Now, you know what? I can't announce the award show yet, can I? No, just say
it's
no.
a little early.
Okay, but not much.
Not
we're
much.
Close.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, what we can say is that it's in planning and it's in the works. And if this genius to my left comes through like I expect him to, it's going to blow last year's away.
That is going to do. I'm telling you right now, that is going to do. Save the end of August. Save the end of August. So we'll get to them with that pretty soon. Master Blaster, you got a new ITL for us?
Yeah. I was recently, as always, working on a mix, and I did something I really liked on some overhead mics and some. I want you to check this out. It's a technique that you might find useful for overhead mics. And always, as always, these things can apply to anything, but I just use it on overhead mics.
Let's run it.
Hey guys, if you're like me, sometimes I don't have a clue what to do with room mics on live drums. I like what they add. I mess around with them, and somehow I get them to sound pretty good. This one I was really proud of, and I did something a little bit different. We're using our Jill Scott song again. Here's the room mic soloed. Okay, and here's in the track. Now, here's in the track without what I did. It gives the groove a little bit of sauce, a little jalapenos, a little grease. You know what I'm saying? And I did something on this I had not done before. I started playing with ozone, and here's what I did. Here's without it. With it. Here's the equalizer I used. Nothing fancy. Taking out a little bit of 130. A little bit of 130 at a shelf, cut off, a high pass, excuse me. And then a little bit of 300. Boosted a little bit of 25 somewhere in there. A little bit of high shelf at 6. Now after the equalizer, we're using this transient shaper with it. Subtle, but works. You could use the exciter, which I love on this plug-in. A little bit of compression. And just a little bit of limiting, nothing fancy there. But the accumulation of it, and by the way, the limiter on this is amazing. Everything Isotope makes is amazing. You knew that. And then just to get a little bit of old school vibe. Just a little bit of glue. Now this is your basic old Fairchild. That's not really a Fairchild, but I like what it does. It's a good plug-in. It does what I need without adding any color. It just does the Fairchild thing without color. So let's put it in the mix. Well, you'll notice right off the top, it adds a little bit top end to my snare. It gives it a little bit of more of the snare has a tendency, the drummer is so good, it tends to have a lot of the sameness in it, in the attack. And this kind of makes the attack kind of give you a little bit of interest in the color, and then the little nuances that the drummer has in between the beats, those come through, and I think that's where his personality was. I wish I knew his name. Quick, sweet, easy, something you might not have thought to do, but I think you should experiment with. And then we could have also put this on an auxiliary track and used it in parallel, this whole stuff. And you can see I experimented with a lot of stuff, trying to figure out what worked. Pretty cool. And then I also experimented with some side chaining with a kick. That's what these two are. And that works pretty good too. Okay, next time.
How about these names? U2, Rolling Stones, Kiss, Lionel Richie, Bruce Springsteen, and the list goes on and on and on.
And Pensado's Place.
And no joke. And Pensado's Place. Paul McCartney, AC/DC. All these guys, including us, put their trust in the hands of our next guest. Clair Brothers are a worldwide provider of everything from incredible concert live services, AVL solutions, broadcasting, and much, much more. We were pleased to make their acquaintance, and then Troy Clair, who we're about to introduce to you, decided he doesn't like to do a lot of interviews. He decided he'd hop on a plane, come out here, and sit with us. So, Dave, we just can't embarrass him. Let's not do that.
A little late for that train.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Done left the
We'll
station.
apologize in front. So we're pleased to welcome to our desk Troy Clair, CEO of Clair Global, and our man John McBride of Pensado's Place. Really.
Well, there you
Welcome,
go.
bro. Thanks,
Great to
Troy.
be here.
Thanks for coming, man. Thanks for coming.
I'm just sitting here thinking if these two cats, along with the gentleman that's coming up a little later, if they weren't in our lives, we wouldn't be here.
Don't even get me started.
The show would have this kind of look.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be on iPhone. Like,
Left to left.
whoa,
There we go.
Okay, good.
I called Troy a couple of weeks ago and I said, "What are you doing in a couple of weeks besides going to LA with me?" He goes, "Why am I going to LA with you?"
And aren't you guys, U2's here today, right?
U2 is.
So you guys, I understand there's some new gear with them, or there's some stuff you guys have been working on that's incorporated into their show?
We are. They
Yeah,
have
what is
our new CO12 speaker cabinet.
Oh, wow.
And our new sublo. So the whole PA is brand new.
No joke.
So they're
Go ahead.
the second tour to take it out.
So when you develop that kind of stuff, isn't there a period where the band has to come in, play on it, get to know it, really like it? Are they involved in the design, or do you
The
design? and
band
bring
is
to
not
them?
the mixing engineer. Joe Hurley is sent the Lidditz to help, and he was instrumental in the design of the cabinet.
Makes
So
to our
the
audience
sound guys
big key stuff.
come in.
Troy,
That's huge.
Troy, you grew up in that industry, and I mean, do you ever stand back at one of your venues and just go, "Oh my God, how did we get here?" And John and I were talking earlier, like my sure vocal master has kind of been left in the dirt. You know, where's it going? I mean, you're sliding Justin Timberlake out in the middle of an audience. You got Katy Perry. You got all this stuff. Where's it going, man?
Where is it going? That's a good question. If we knew,
I know where
if
it's
we
going.
knew that.
In a minute, the artist. You're gonna hate me for this. The artist will be obsolete. You just come see a Clair Brothers show, right? That's what's going. That's where it's going.
That's what we're hoping for. No, I just didn't mean that. But what's amazing, you know, when you go to your website, when you think about just the breadth, you have offices all over the world. Is that correct?
Correct.
Where are they?
We have offices in Tokyo, Japan, Sydney, Australia, Basel, Switzerland, London,
Wow.
Nashville,
Wow.
Los Angeles.
And then you're in Pennsylvania,
And
correct?
the headquarters is Lidditz, Pennsylvania.
Lives Pennsylvania. Do different territories require sort of different requirements? Do you have to sort of customize for the country and region that you're in?
We usually,
I can think of one example of that. In England, they don't allow span sets. When you rig, you have to use steel. So the Brent Council, you know, who's like OSHA here,
Yeah, exactly.
they make sure that you don't have any nylon things
For
involved in the
safety
rigging.
purposes?
If there were a fire, they could burn.
Does that
things
change
could
your
fall.
costs stuff and all that?
well, we were based in Lidditz till about the mid-'80s. And then in order to expand around the world and offer the same equipment worldwide, we did have to acquire entities that were there because of the cultural change.
Yeah, that's what I
And you
thought.
can't take Lidditz and tour it around the world.
When
if
we
you're
were-
going to service in Europe, you have to have Europeans.
Right. We were preparing, Dave and I were doing the research, and I was thinking about it's hard to export something you do in one place and just make it plug and play every other place. Like you have to go in there.
There is
and also,
some plug and play in it,
yeah,
but the R&D and the manufacturing and all the engineering is done in Lidditz. But then the service aspect of it is done worldwide.
and then you hire people who
Right.
know and that kind of stuff. That makes
The band will take a lot, will take a lot of technicians with them.
absolutely.
I'm kind of curious, Troy, what happened when the silver solder, or not silver solder, but when the solder changed in Europe but not here?
You have to change to the European.
Oh
do.
man, that's rough.
That's a big change.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
The Europeans are tougher on electrical and rigging.
Are they? So
Yes.
much more regulated and stuff
Way-
like that?
way
Got
more
to pass.
regulated, yeah.
And if you don't pass, they'll
You
get in the
don't
way.
tour.
I used to, as a manager, go through that with like VAT taxes and stuff. And if you didn't take care of business, it's your behind.
That's just greasing a palm. That's
Well,
all
it
that
is. But glad you
That
said
happens
that.
here, too.
No, it's called something else, but it's the same thing.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not going to get us in trouble.
No, please do. Come on, because if you don't, we will. So it doesn't matter. One of the things about John and your relationship that we see and we try to emulate is, first of all, doesn't it have to start with passion? Don't you have to care about this?
It's all, we agree, John and I were talking this morning, it's all about passion.
Right?
I mean, you're doing this for a long time, and you have to love what you're doing.
Yeah.
As with anything.
I will send you a picture of John at Gear Expo Nashville, miking Steve Jordan's drums, sweating out the thing just now. You know, he's John McBride, and he is in there getting it ready. And when I looked at your website, you had some aptitude things about innovation and integrity and so on and so forth. And we just had a live event where we ran the same kinds of things. We had not talked at that, we had not met yet. And I think that is, it's universal. Like, if you don't care about it, you can't do this, right?
What Troy said about this morning when we were having breakfast and we were naked. It was kind of weird. But anyway, you know I'm kidding. My wife says I don't have a filter. He's worried about you embarrassing him.
Right.
Anyway,
The guy you flew with might be your problem.
but what you realize is when you're doing something that you love with people you love and people you trust, and you know it's so funny because Claire bought my sound company. It became official in 1997, and for the year prior to that, you know, we had talked about doing it, and we decided, yeah, it's a good idea, and it all made sense. And we had our lawyers and my lawyers going, what if, and his lawyers going, what if. Well, Troy and I got on the phone about 6 months into this BS and said, let's just do this on a handshake.
Oh,
and
God,
you know
they're
what?
So similar.
That says everything.
Yes.
Because if you trust the guy enough to know, and I do, and he does, and we've never looked at that contract one time in 18 years or whatever it's been, you know?
Troy, take me through the Reader's Digest version. So U2 comes to you and says, "We need the greatest show ever." When that sentence gets uttered, you go back to the shop. You get your engineers, your computer people, and they start designing. Is that what happens? And then how long is that process? That can take months, right?
It all depends. You pick the one that usually spends more time planning in the process. So the engineer will come to Lidditz and work with us on how to fit. First, you have to build a design. So the designers build the tour, and then we try to put the sound system into the design that they've created.
By design, you're talking about the stage setup
The
and all
stage
that.
setup and the spectacle.
Lighting,
You know, today it's a
video.
spectacle.
It is a spectacle.
It's it's not all about the sound. It's about the event.
So they're at the forum right now. What was the lead up time to that? That was 6
well,
months.
Well, this
It's
is the
been-
second tour with.
This is the. It's been about a year and a half in the planning because you know there's been Bono wrecked his bicycle.
That's right. He hurt
and
himself.
that moved things out quite a bit.
Can he play? I know he wasn't going to. He
Yeah,
thought he wouldn't
yeah.
be
I
able
think
to play. He can.
he's having a full recovery.
Oh.
And because it's so computerized, you can actually rehearse the show without actually having the equipment, but just sitting in front of a computer, you can rehearse the show beforehand, can't you?
I think they
to a
spend.
point.
U2 spends a lot of time rehearsing the band before they go on tour.
No, I'm talking about your part of the show, the lighting and the moves and all that. That's pre-programmed, right?
Well, the lighting probably would be, but we don't care about lights.
We're audio people.
We're audio guys, man.
Well, that's my ignorance. I thought that was part of what
in
you
the
do.
production part, we have set. I mean, funny you bring up the
I
production.
agree with
We've-
John fully, by the way.
We have a new entity called Rock Lidditz in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, and that was purpose built, just to rehearse the production.
It's a huge
Not the band.
building for production.
But it's a
really?
production rehearsal facility. It's 100 feet tall. It's 250 feet by 125. It'll hold 1 million pounds. You can hang any production you want
That's what I'm
inside of
talking
it.
about.
It has rooms for the production, and you rehearse the production. So the band, U2 was there for 6 weeks.
Please, can I ask permission at some point in time? Could we send a crew and shoot that so we can show our audience that at some point in time?
You most certainly may.
Oh, yes, indeed. Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
I tried to talk him into doing a Woodstock there, invite about 500,000 friends.
It is
He knew better. That's why he's sitting on my left.
it's a production rehearsal,
John
not a
agreed.
live event.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So John, let's on the live side. You know, you have got the incredible studio in Nashville. You've got the Blackbird Academy, which is both studio stuff and live stuff. And you still every day, almost every weekend, or when Martina or other people are working, you either are mixing in the studio or on the road mixing, right?
Yes,
That
I'm very fortunate that I get to do both.
you get to do it all.
Because I love touring. I love it. I've always done it, and I love it. But I love working in the studio also.
Yeah. So what I find, and I'm curious from both of you, I know how we feel, I know how you feel. Isn't education important? Like if you're going to hire somebody, them knowing their chops and knowing their stuff is pretty critical, isn't it?
Sure. You know, it's so funny because when Clair started out, even when I started my sound company out, which was in Kansas,
Yeah.
and there's no music business or anything, not that there was in Lidditz, but you know, when you start out, you end up training people and learning on the job yourself.
Yeah.
And you try to find guys that have an aptitude for it, have the right attitude, which is the most important part of life, if you ask me. And then the guys that are great, they excel. And if people aren't in it for the right reasons or it doesn't work out, they end up doing something else, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Whenever we start a new class at Blackbird, the first thing I say to the students is that attitude is 99% of the gig. And that is, at the end of the day, that's probably the most important thing anyone could learn if they don't already realize. Because not just in the studio or on the road, but the way you are with your parents and your wife or your partner, your girlfriend, boyfriend, friends, brothers and sisters. When you have the right attitude about all that, you're going to have a successful life.
Right.
And when you have a bad attitude about all that, you're not.
You're out of there.
You're not.
Yeah.
It just probably won't happen, you know?
In your live school, wasn't there some like incredible placement rate recently or something?
You know, our live students, it's really kind of crazy because we probably get 5 or 6 kids signing up for the studio for every one that signs up live. And yet there are 9 or 10 jobs live for every one in the studio.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And our live students are fantastic. We're at 92%. They're gigging.
Wow.
92% of our graduates.
Wow.
And not interning. I mean, they're making a paycheck. They're paying rent.
Wow.
They're, doing what they need to do. And it's amazing. And there's a great story. One of our kids who was in the live class, the first thing they did, and I think it was a week into the program, they went out and did a Luke Bryan load-in and saw the show and talked to the house guy and the monitor guy and learned what they could learn. And he graduated, and now he's on the Luke Bryan tour as a paid employee, which I love that.
Amazing.
I love it.
And that level of professionalism is what choosing a good school will help you become and then get you into so that you can become one of the best.
Well, no question about it. And the funny part is, I called Troy when I was going to, start this school because I said, I'm just not finding the quality of people we need as interns even, I'm finding out about how little they know, and it's really makes me angry. And so I'm going to just start a school because I don't know how else to remedy the situation. And Troy's been very supportive. And Clair has an incredible schooling of their own that they do for everyone who comes to work there. And we do a lot with our class. We're right across the road from the Clair office in Nashville. So we spend a lot of time back and forth between Clair and the classroom and live gigs and all that stuff. But it's just been a wonderful relationship. I've always had this great relationship with Troy. I don't want to send him a kid who isn't amazing.
Right. Right.
And Dave Lester comes down and he'll interview the kids, and that's great and perfect. And he does his job, and we don't get in the way. I don't expect any favors, but if we have high quality kids and they have the opportunity to hire to Clair.
Now joining our cozy array of stellar guests is Kevin Sanford. Kevin is the president of Clair Broadcast. One of the reasons that you're able to see this show. Kevin, welcome to the desk, man.
Thanks for having me.
The broadcast business, what we believe, Dave and I believe, and Pensado's Place believes, there's a convergence going on. That audio meets content capture, meets digital, meets media, and somehow we advise our audience that be good as much of this as you can. Like, you're not always going to be able to separate. Is that true? Do you see that?
Oh, I absolutely do. I think that, I look at any event anymore. I mean, especially coming into Clair as an audio company, I pushed Troy, I think, to nauseam on, looking at things in a much more global scope now, because I think you can't talk about any event, live or television anymore, that's not streaming. The same thing.
Absolutely.
It is audio with video. And because of the access of internet and all those things, there's so many ways to engage your fans and engage an audience, whether you're teaching or playing music. Video is a part of it, as is the audio. They're married.
The guys that are watching us post to YouTube, and they shoot videos, and they shoot content, and they communicate that way, and so on and so forth. So we tell people, all of you are in some form of television. The definition has changed. It's not necessarily legacy cameras and E&G stuff and all, and switchers and VTRs, but you're trying to capture things and put them in a way where it's digestible to people, and you have to know about it because you're up against so many people. Like, it's just, the YouTube universe for what it is, and now that content can be upstreamed into other places. So a company like you guys, in order to stay ahead of the curve, you have to be ready for all that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think more and more, clients like you two, everything is more of a multimedia experience.
Yeah.
Growing up, we were talking about Fleetwood Mac in the green room and stuff. That's like my first concert as a sophomore was my dad. It was also in television. And Stevie Nicks' first tour, her Belladonna tour. That was me sitting on a camera box in the fifth row, like, oh my God, I'm here. I'm hearing this. This is real.
Yeah.
Well, now, I think the experience is much more than that. People are, want it to be something they can play back, something they can, tweet about. We're doing Wi-Fi on festivals a lot, as well as the broadcast, and, we're noticing that, people are uploading at a festival, terabytes of information. For better or for worse, you go to a festival now and unfortunately watch people watching it like this.
Yeah, that's exactly
so. It's unavoidable. I think we've kind of turned a corner where, multimedia experiences in entertainment is the norm, not the exception.
So now you know that the Periscopes exist, and the Instagrams exist, all that kind of stuff, and then you just put it into your planning. It becomes...
Social media is a extremely important dynamic to get your content out there.
Chongor, you got a question over there for our guests?
Yeah, we do. This first one's, what are some aspects of running a large company that a young entrepreneur would often overlook or not take as seriously?
Ooh, wow.
deep, Chongor.
That one.
A large company.
Does a young entrepreneur, can he think about a large company early? He just has to, there's other
He's got
disciplines.
dreams.
Yeah, he has dreams. But when you see the guys that come in that you think about hiring, some guys, want world domination and they want to get their leg in. And sometimes that's a good attribute, but it has to be channeled. Do you have to watch for that?
I can answer that. Actually, we get that a lot. Now that people, the kids come in and they want to be the owner or the CEO of the company within a year or
Yes,
two.
yes.
So we teach them patience.
I can imagine Clair Brothers.
But it's a great attribute to have that, that energy, that you actually want to run the company, own the company. And so they're great employees to have, but you do have to teach them patience.
You have to channel
And as you start, as time goes on, they learn the patience because they realize what they really do not know.
Do you guys see crossover? Somebody starts an audio, may go to television, vice versa, mix, or is it separate for the most part?
More and more, I mean, I think since I've come into Clair, we've been pushing that to be a mix. You know,
They
a
do
really
overlap a
solid
lot
mix.
more.
I mean, more than people realize.
Even live in studio. It used to be apples and oranges, but now, you know, everyone on the road has a Pro Tools rig. There's just a lot more overlap than there used to be, and probably a third or more of the people I know that work in studios full time started off live, and I love that.
Wow. Wow.
Even you, Dave.
I did. It's easier to start live than dead, so
It is.
The other thing that, as an owner-operator, that I really like about you guys is that somehow you guys have extended what feels to me like the family part of the business. And as it has extended, gotten bigger, those family dynamics people have to adhere to be part of it. Is that fair to say? I'm overstating?
Very fair to say. We will continue to keep the family aspect of the company. And you know, with 360 employees worldwide,
Wow, damn.
or just North America, you know, the family is important. There's a third generation coming.
Is there really?
So it will stay a.
And they're
I'm
coming through the
second.
business. That's right. That's
Third
right.
generation's already in their late 20s.
And they're
early 30s.
motivated too. Man.
So it will stay a family.
Well, here's what I can tell.
Atmosphere.
Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to tell you that we know how important patriarchs are, and we know how important your dad was to getting this thing going and the family, and we honor his memory and everything he's done. Absolutely. We are here as a function, you guys. You know, we're going to talk about it privately, but what you guys don't know is between this guy and the other guys, how folks stepped up for us, correct? And we decided to do one of those John McBrides. We call it Wile E. Coyote. We just run off the cliff and we don't look down. As long as we keep our eyes up, we just keep it going. So, you know, we'll talk about it off camera, but on camera, this has been a wonderful thing, I think, for our guys to see, to understand that there are opportunities. What we believe is that there's no place in the world that is silent. That means your opportunities are unlimited in audio, but you got to think about it that way. You got to think about it broadly. And that convergence, you take a mix engineer and a manager, and somebody said, hey, do a TV show. We went, okay. And here we are. And I think that the spirit of what you guys do and the family stuff and our buddy here absolutely represent the very best of what can happen, how you can achieve your dreams and keep your principles, and change the meter, you know, really change the meter. The Blackbird Academy, you know, we call it the Yale of audio. If you want a boutique school and incredible learning, it's not gonna get better. You can get other.
You know what, I
But they
think
would
our
get better.
October class is sold out on the studio side,
Woo.
which is good.
Yes, sir.
And the live class is growing. It's our biggest live class in October. And guys, if you're looking to gig,
Come on down.
come on.
Come on down.
If you have the right attitude, I'll say that too. But definitely, come on down.
We thank you so much, guys. It's been wonderful. Next up, Dweezil Zappa. Hold on.
Oh.
It's just a pleasure. Every now and then we get a sort of a hair in our throat and we go, guitar, guitar. We got to go guitar. And Dave and I were talking and he said our buddy Ross Hogarth had called and he was mixing this this artist who we know the history of, and he is a guitar rock god. And we were like, sold. Can we get him on the show? So it is our absolute pleasure to welcome to the table Dweezil Zappa.
How are you?
How are you, man? Good.
You know what? Your intro was correct because I feel like I raised Dweezil. I didn't even know the guy. I mean, all of us that were guitar for his dad and for all the guitar players I love. It's not something you do. It's your lifestyle.
Right.
And Frank Zappa always represented the top of the pinnacle, not just in guitar playing, but how do you live your life, you know, be your own person and stuff.
Well, to
so
that
watching
end.
the little guy grow up, and now I'm here with him, and he's
Yeah.
amazing. It's just a real thrill for me. I just called you the
thanks.
little guy. I'm sorry about
It's all
that.
right. It's all right.
But you know what? Dave brings up an interesting point. I know that during the heyday of my record career, and your dad was just at the pinnacle of what he was doing, he represented both, I thought, not exactly like somebody who, today they would say disruptive. He would push the edge of the envelope, but there was classical stuff in his music. It applied and appealed to a lot of people, had a lot of diverse interest in it. And he just was so unflinchingly brave about stuff. He would just go out there. Is that fair? Is that?
Well, I mean, the thing about it is you got to look at it, brief history. He was 11 years old, went to the library to become a composer. He went and read about, because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a classical composer.
Wow.
So he went and he was checking out how to do that, and he didn't have the rules of only these things go together. He just put it all together how he wanted. So when you have that as your template, you're going to hear the word no a lot, because people are going to say, I don't get it, it can't be done, and he just made a way to do it.
Right.
And so he was a real maverick in that sense.
Yeah.
So everything he did, he was pretty much an auteur. He knew it. He had to know exactly how to explain it to everybody, because they just weren't on the same page.
Yeah.
They never were. And even now, his music sounds like it's from the future. There's nothing that sounds like what he did. Even when stuff's 50 years old, you hear it like, who are the Brain Police on Freak Out? Like you don't hear anything that sounds like that.
Right.
And that's 50 years old. So it's wild to have seen how he worked on everything. And it was all about just having respect for the creative process and the imagination. Like, he did not take drugs or drink or do any of that stuff. It was like he just had fun making stuff up.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool.
And so as an artist yourself and somebody who's a player, and you're born in that environment, you probably said, there are no boundaries. Let me just go do what I need to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't hear other music really other than what my dad made or was working on or what he listened to from his own record collection until I was about 12. Then I heard stuff on the radio. And my initial thought was, where's the rest of it? I just, because I didn't, all the other instruments that I was used to hearing, marimbas and all different kind of percussion and all these things, the music I heard on the radio became so simplistic that I just thought I was waiting and nothing else ever came in. Yeah.
Wow.
But I liked it. I mean, I heard it, but my background was that I thought there was so much more that was possible. So it was a totally opposite, existence.
Wow.
Dweezil, you're working on a new album, right?
I am, yeah.
What's going to be describe that album, what it's going to be in a couple of sentences.
Well, I decided to make a record of my own. It's been 10 years since I've been able to make a record of my own, because I started working on a project called Zappa Plays Zappa, where I played my dad's music and we played live all over the world. But in that process, a lot of people were saying, oh, when are you going to make your own record? And I just didn't have time. And I finally just said, okay, I'll make one. I did it with Pledge Music, so that...
so crowdfunding is how you financed it?
But I'll get into that part if we have time.
Sure.
But the thing about it is, the record itself is a collection of things that I wanted to make a record that told the story in a musical way of everything that I liked about music, all the reasons I wanted to make music. And that's just from the production side of it, instrumentation, everything. I wanted to try to do stuff I had never done on any other record.
Yeah.
And so it's a record called Via Zamata, and the name comes from a street in Parzinico, Sicily. I went there. We actually traced our family's heritage, and my family, my father's side, they emigrated from a little building on this little street there.
You're kidding.
Called Via Zamata, which they then later renamed Via Frank Zappa. So it's like this whole thing, it's all like, a life story, somehow.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Going back to this new album, I remember your album from years back. It was really good. The guitar playing was great, but I wouldn't call it composition laden. Now, you've been touring with your dad's music for several years, and which is very heavily composition. I mean, these are thought out pieces.
Yeah.
And so this new record, how's that influence creeping into this new record to make it different from the last record?
Well, I think if you compare what I did over the years in my own music, this record is not even, it's a totally other world. And compared to my experience in playing my dad's music, the biggest influences that rubbed off in this is that when I really decided to be doing what I'm doing with Zappa Plays Zappa, I wanted to be part of an ensemble, and I had to learn to be part of an ensemble, because normally a guitar player, especially like rock lead guitar, that's not part of an ensemble.
Yeah.
That's a whole other kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn a lot of things to make it be about the music and not draw attention to any particular player, but we all come together to make the music be what it is. And so that filtered into the recording process and the writing process for this record. So there's a few things on the record that I've got to do that I never had a thought of doing before. So I wrote a piece of music that has an arrangement for strings and brass, and I had Jeff Emmerich, who recorded many of the great Beatles records. He came in and recorded the strings and the brass for this stuff. But ideally, that one particular tune I'm referencing is called Funky 15, and the kind of joke in it is that it's a bass and a drum pattern thing that just sort of flips over. It's in 15/8, and it's a funk tune. So, but then you have this really twisted harmony of the strings and the brass doing this other thing. So, in all of that, it's like this puzzle of like, how do you make it sound like 70s funk, like Stevie Wonder or Herbie Hancock, you know, on the bottom here, and then you have like this avant-garde classical on top, and then crazy guitar as well blended in. So it's like, that's one of the tunes that I think probably has most of the Zappa influence of all the things.
I want to get a video record of this. You will let us know when this record's out, right?
Yeah.
But I have bad news for you because I just called Ross, and as he's mixing that record, I'm going to be in the back of the room so I can hear it early.
Our buddy
that
Ross
is
Hogarth.
fabulous. Yeah, absolutely. Why did you crowdfund? Tell me, because we've done that. And
well, the thing about pledge music, and I don't think the typical idea that people have about crowdfunding is exactly what the experience is for pledge music. And being that I've only done with pledge music, here's my take on it. You're not asking people to give you money to make a record.
Right.
You are making a record.
Right.
The opportunity that comes with pledge music is that people can pre-order this album, and then they can be part of the process. They can literally see what you're doing in the studio because you're making videos on a daily basis almost, and you're in touch with the people that are supporting you. Now, when I see your show, you guys are very gracious about the people that help you out and support you and all that stuff, and that's a great thing for people to learn about and do. In this context, the people that really want to support your music, they show up and they say, "Oh yeah, here we go. I want to pre-order this," and then because of that, it actually changed the way that the record was made, because I'm in touch with people that have a positive idea of what this whole experience is.
Absolutely.
And it's not this insular kind of thing anymore. It's like you actually have. It's like there's just a little bit of a boost that people are, because they have this enthusiasm for it. You think, oh well, then we better really, spend the time and really. So it was a very positive thing, but I never looked at it like, this is a weird thing where you got to ask people for money. Right. It was like, I'm going to make the record anyway.
Right.
But if you make it and you have the opportunity, like, just think of if it was 30, 40 years ago, and you had the chance to be a fly on the wall during a session for anything, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Frank Zappa, Van Halen, whatever.
Sure.
If you had that chance,
Joe's Garage.
Yeah, I mean, if you had that chance to see how that was made, wouldn't you want to?
Of course.
And so that's really what this provides people. It's a new era in making records and the experience of being a music enthusiast.
Can I add to that a little bit?
Sure.
Because we did something similar for the first Pensado Awards, and we've learned from it, and we'll do it better the next time. But what we loved about it was we were able to build a community who cared.
Yeah.
And they were involved, and we learned things from them, and we talked to them, and we made some adjustments along the way. We wanted them to be co-authors in the process, and it became something that raised our bar, and it became sort of cyclical. We would feed back to them, they would feed back to us, and it made our show better. In my opinion.
Yeah, it made us better.
It made, absolutely. So I love the context of how you can use these kind of tools to raise the bar as opposed to hat in hand, just give me and I'm going to go do something with it.
Yeah, well, because I think there's also a negative connotation that comes to people's minds when they think that anything that you're doing artistically that you have to ask for a handout.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
that's right.
There's something strange about it. You know, people are like, oh well, you know, if you got to ask for money, that can't be too good.
Right,
You know,
right.
But it's I don't know why people think that way instead of just like really look at everything at face value and just see what it is. But
Dweezil, an extension of that philosophy is Dweezil.
Yeah.
And I want you guys to go to his Facebook page and just go to his Facebook page. You'll know why when you get there. Explain to me the concept, because you're giving away scholarships. You're doing a lot of good with that, and that was one of the things that I felt a kindred spirit with you and who you are as a person yourself, standing by yourself, is that caring and sharing. Can you explain and expand on Dweezil?
Sure. Dweezil is just a musical boot camp that I came up with for guitar players. Because when I started playing my dad's music, I had to transform my own technical approach to guitar. So what I really did was I took more than 25 years of playing and I said, well, I can't do it that way anymore. To play what I want to play and what I need to play in my father's music requires techniques I don't know anything about, and I have to sort of take that and then develop it and make it something that I can use. I have to like completely take what I already knew and replace it with this new thing. And so that was a challenging process. You know, not only the physical part, but the actual mental approach of trying to think differently as a musician, as a guitar player. So in that, people recognized a change in my playing. So a lot of people were asking me questions. Well, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? So I just decided to create a way to show that in several ways.
They're excellent videos.
Oh, thanks. Well, the thing that I've done is I've come up with an event that I do that's called Dweezil, and we have been doing it on the East Coast. I think I'm going to move it to the West Coast for a trial run and see what we do. But I've also on tour I do like a 90-minute class before sound check. I have people come in and it's players of all styles, all ages, and we just talk about guitar and I show here's the things that help me with because there's 2 or 3 things that I pinpointed that became things that are kind of like epiphany moments, where I like to share them because they can help like shave off years of learning, So anyway, I ended up doing a thing with TrueFire.com where I took some of my Dweezil classes and put them into video form, and so that's something I actually really like doing. Is just in the same way that you love to talk about audio and share. Like the reason I came to be familiar with the show is because I love to learn stuff about different techniques and things. And one thing you did recently, I actually did on one of my songs. You did a reverb thing where you pitched the reverb up an octave.
Yeah.
And so on one thing on my record, on a song called On Fire, my wife sings this one part, and on the reverb, it's up an octave on the trail.
When I taught you that.
True.
Yeah.
But what's odd, let me stop you real quick, I apologize, but what's odd is it's not on, I can't remember if it was either Willie the Pimp or Peaches and Regalia off the Hot Rats album from your dad. And I was listening to that. I didn't hear it there, but I thought about the idea of listening to, I can't remember which one of those songs. And by the way, Joe's Garage is probably one of the best sounding records you'll ever hear. And
I totally agree.
That's a big part of my childhood and my soon-to-be mixing career, because if you don't know what a good record sounds like, then all the schooling, all the teaching, all the studying, all the woodshedding means nothing if you don't know what good music and a good sound should be.
Compare it to.
Yeah.
And that's a great record because it helped me a lot. And I didn't know it at the time, but later on I kept going back in my mind to, this doesn't sound right. Why? And then, but that's a great sounding record, isn't it?
I mean, that record for sure is one of my all-time favorite sounding records. And there's a lot of great sounding records out there, but when it comes down to being able to hear everything, especially in a complex piece of music, the records my dad made, like records like the Grand Wazoo and these things that have like big orchestrated elements, but rock instrumentation as well.
Yeah.
When you can hear everything and it just all comes together, it's like that's the real art of the thing, because the music only sounds that much better. If you have a great recording, the song is going to translate that much better, and that's not very easy to do. If you're writing challenging music, it has to be recorded well for it to have a good impact for people. Because if it hurts your ears to listen to it, who cares?
Absolutely.
They're not going to listen to it.
Chongor, you got something over there for our guests?
Great questions. This first one, was the guitar the first instrument you picked up? And was there ever a time where you didn't consider the guitar to be for you?
I started playing drums first, and I always liked the sound of the guitar, but I only knew my dad's guitar playing to begin with, and I could tell from listening to it that he knew stuff that was really complex. So I was like, I'm gonna have to wait a little while until I can get into that.
Did he ever give you a personal lesson or anything?
When I was 12 and I really started playing seriously, he showed me some stuff, but he wasn't the kind of guitarist that had formal technique. He had a very idiosyncratic way of playing. So like the picking hand was like, he did this a lot, it was like very,
oh, really?
So it was very plucky and these weird little circles, and he would sort of fasten his hand to the right over the neck pickup and almost play most of the time on the neck, plucking on the neck.
Oh, really?
And then this hand looked like a spider, so it was the battle of the chicken and the spider. So if you looked at that,
is that a song on the new album?
No, but I should.
Great title.
That's your title, right there.
But the thing about it was, to play guitar, I heard everything he did and I thought it was great, but I didn't hear it and think, I can do that. And I think when people get an idea in their mind of what they can do, then they get serious about it. So when I was 12, I heard Van Halen and Randy Rhoads and these guys, and I thought that, their music was complex in a different way than my dad's. I mean, it's not easy music to play. To say, I want to learn note for note what they did is not easy. So that was the inspiration at 12, because that was the most popular music on the radio at that time, hard rock and Van Halen and all that kind of stuff. So I tried to learn that stuff, and Steve Vai was in my dad's band at the time, so he showed me a couple of things. But
that's cheating, man.
The very first thing I ever recorded, I was 12 years old. I hadn't even been playing for a year. I recorded a song called My Mother is a Space Cadet, and Eddie Van Halen produced it at my dad's studio.
You're kidding.
Yeah, and it was all a crazy experience, for a 12-year-old, I gotta tell you.
And now we move into sports.
Okay.
So our pitcher over here to my right, Dave Pensado, they call him Gimpy Arm. He's got some stuff for you. You got some heaters.
I mean, MF took lessons from Steve Vai. I mean, I quit.
This is gonna be tough.
I'm not saying I lose.
But you got to just man up and just go through and just get your block knocked off.
Thanks for encouraging me.
It's my pleasure.
Glad you're always on my side.
Always
on this damn thing.
for 220 episodes, buddy. Fire away.
60s guitar pedal.
I would have to say, if it's 60s, probably Maestro Fuzz.
Nice.
Ooh, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Gibson or Strat?
If you asked me 20 years ago, I would have said Strat, but I'd say Gibson now.
Drummers.
Gotta get a good one. You're only as good as your drummer.
Good.
All right. Okay.
No, come on. You can finish that, buddy.
Plugins.
Man, there's a lot of great ones. I like everything from UA and Waves and Slate. There's great stuff. All those are some great things.
Yep.
Watch this.
Okay.
Whammy bar.
Don't use it anymore.
A what?
Yeah.
It's become a purist.
Peckerwood. Reverb.
You know what? If it's in a track and you want character, I would say Spring.
He's good, Herb. He's good.
Oh yeah, no, you're getting your head blocked.
I thought I was going to catch him on an album.
I listen, surprisingly, mostly to my dad's music. It's just what I grew up with, and so one of the ones I love is Yellow Shark.
Capo.
I use auto-tune on guitar. There's an actual thing built into. I have a fretless guitar with auto-tune, so it's like a virtual capo. You can play.
You're showing off now.
It's pretty awesome.
That's amazing. I want to talk about that after the show. Okay, last one. If your studio caught fire, what one piece of gear would you walk out with?
Just gear-wise, I probably. I mean, I have a nice Elam and Telefunken U47. You know, so I'd probably. Wow. But there's a lot of other good gear in there too. So.
Yeah. I got 2 questions. One is, if you do Dweezil on the West Coast, can we cover it?
Sure.
I'd love to cover it and show people your process and what you do, which would be great. And the second question, all important for audio, is are you still cooking?
I do love to cook. Yeah, you know, and I think
Italian.
cooking and audio are kind of the same thing. Like if you have something that, if you eat something that is so great that you want to eat it again, it's like you hear something that's so great you want to hear it again, but you want to know why that is. Like, well, how did these ingredients come together to make that work? So I see that correlation.
Absolutely.
I don't get enough time to cook that much, you know, with touring and all that stuff. But I do enjoy it.
Will you come back?
Absolutely.
Love to have you, man. It was
Appreciate
such a pleasure.
Thanks.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Dave, take us home, buddy.
Ooh, where do you start? You know. I'll tell you where I'm going to start, guys. Dweezil's more than just a guitar player, more than just a musician. Yeah, he caught a couple of breaks along the way, but he's turned into his own guy, and his music is amazing. Now, going back to his dad, a good place to start is Apostrophe. There's about 80 or so albums by Frank, and it can be a little daunting to know where to start. You guys that have never heard of him, start with Apostrophe. Would you say that's accurate?
I absolutely. It's the Apostrophe, Overnight Sensation.
Overnight
those
Sensation.
are 2. And
what was the Flow in 80? What was the Flow in 80 record called?
Well, there's a couple. So I mean,
first
like
one.
the one that I would say for that stuff would be like Just Another Band from L.A.
Yeah,
You know.
that's that one's accessible too, and you might think that the music from Zappa is a little complex. It's not complex. It came from his mind. It's just that we're not accustomed and haven't been given the tools to understand it. It has a quality that pervades all great music, and that just goes to your heart. And I wanted to thank Dweezil for coming by and hanging out with us. And I want to shout out Sheila Gonzalez as part of your band. She's a monster musician and somebody I care about. And then, of course, Ross Hogarth. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week.
See you later.
Thank you.
It's important that we're able to acknowledge things that life sometimes intrudes. So really quickly, we got some news this morning. You want to share what that was?
Yeah, this morning, Dennis Sheehan, the tour manager of U2, passed away of a heart attack, unexpectedly, obviously. And we just wanted to pass our condolences to Pam and the family, for this day.
And for all of our fans and all of our U2 fans, we also express condolences and rest in peace, and we'll keep the tradition going. Thanks.